Hey, this is New York City. It's pretty big, but it's also kind of small. There's no room for 8.5 million cars, so New Yorkers take the train. A lot. 760 million times a year. It's got the most subway stops of any system in the world, and the most track in the Western Hemisphere. Laid end to end, the track would reach Chicago. That sounds like a lot of room to hide secrets. Like this funny-looking brownstone. I wonder who lives here. Oh, nobody does. It's just a secret subway ventilator in a building costume. Turns out this is a trick used around the world to make the subways blend in. The empty building is also valued at $2.8 million, over 3 times higher than the average New York City property. Odd. Here's a zoetrope, a device that made stop-motion animation from the 1800s. Here's Mass Transit Scope, a zoetrope seen on the subway from right now. Forget museums, the subway is filled with art. Here's one in the Times Square station by Roy Lichtenstein. He's pretty famous. Maybe you know him from this, or this, or this. Some art is less well loved. These Times Square tiles were covered with stickers after discovering the original design was likely based off the Confederate flag. There's also this controversial work at the 14th Street station. Why controversial? It's so cute. The artist's work has appeared across the globe. He even has a New York playground named after him. The controversy isn't about the cuddly figures, but rather that early in the artist's career, he shot and killed a dog on camera for an art film, an act that's haunted him for 3 decades. On a lighter note, here's a dog in a raincoat. It's not just people on the trains. In 2013, someone found a dead shark on the subway. There's a photo, but it's slightly gross, so if you don't want to see it, you have 3 seconds to click forward. 3, 2, 1. Here's what happened, at least as tweeted by the official MTA account. Unconfirmed reports that the shark was headed home after a night of partying in Coney Island. Of course, New Yorkers are weird, and then staged a bunch of pictures of the shark with a Metro card and a cigarette. There's many other odd commuters. A Cornell study identified nearly 1,700 types of bacteria, including one containing DNA parts of anthrax and another with fragments of the bubonic plague. Also, almost half the bacteria found were unknown to science. Wash your hands and don't touch the poles. There's a lot of lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, A, C, E, B, D, F, M, N, Q, R, W, G, L, S, J, Z. Hold on. Jay-Z? Yes, he grew up near these lines, and it partially inspired his nickname. Why are there so many missing letters? Well, H, K, T, and V have all been discontinued. U and Y were never used because they sound like words, and I and O were avoided because of looking like numbers.
X is used as a placeholder for subways under development.
This just leaves P, which was skipped for no solid reason. Sorry, P. Feeling nostalgic? Every December, the MTA runs a holiday nostalgia train with cute little cars going back to the 1930s. Feeling nostalgic year-round? 14th Street displays relics from the original station, going back to 1904. Feeling nostalgic, but you're in your mid-70s and don't want to go underground? Maybe you'll remember this specific subway grate. Hollywood has something of a secret film set in the subway system, the abandoned platform at Bowery Station. Since being decommissioned in 2004, the platform has basically become self-contained, making it perfect for filming. The same station appears in You, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story,
And even this Tom Ford runway show.
In fact, I didn't even realize until researching this video, but I've been here. About 10 years ago, I was an extra on the TV show Mr. Robot. It's hard to remember exactly, but I think I'm somewhere in this blur. Where's my Emmy? There's also plenty of performances on in-service trains. A few former subway buskers went on to great success, including Mike Young, a singer that made it to the semi-finals in America's Got Talent. You may even stumble on a performance from Improv Everywhere. For example, if everyone on your train is in their underpants, don't panic. It's not a weird Freudian dream. It's just the annual Improv Everywhere No Pants subway ride. Well, actually now it probably is just a Freudian dream, as the event hasn't run since 2020. Or something weird is going on and you should probably move cars. For every minute you spend pantsless on the train, you'll spend many more waiting pantsless on the platform. Not at Broad Channel Station though. Nobody is at Broad Channel Station. It regularly ranks dead last in ridership among all subway stations, with less than 40,000 riders per year. By contrast, the busiest is Times Square, with over 45 million riders every year. Someone's been to Broad Channel Station though, and it's Kate Jones, who currently holds the record for visiting all 472 stations the fastest, in 22 hours, 14 minutes, and 10 seconds. So, not only did she visit the least busy, but also the most busy, and also the second most busy, Grand Central. Grand Central is famous, and pretty, and weird. Quick sidebar, Grand Central facts. Have a secret? Post it in the comments. Oh, too shy? Okay, share it with a buddy at the Grand Central Whisper Gallery. The odd acoustics here let sound as quiet as a whisper travel right across the ceiling, and you'll hear as clear as if someone is standing right behind you. If someone is standing right behind you though, you'll probably want to get away and lose yourself in the crowd. Try the main atrium. Wow, did you look up? That's all so beautiful. Well, almost all. When the ceiling was scrubbed and restored in 1997, just one icky tile was left behind for comparison. Stained by water, soot, and most of all tobacco fumes. It seems like the grossest part of the ceiling. Well, until you learn that this ceiling was built in the 1940s to cover the decaying original. Will the first ceiling ever be uncovered? Nope, it's filled with asbestos. Hey, one more quirk. The Cosmos design is designed backwards by accident. The original owner of the terminal, Cornelius Vanderbilt, once hurriedly explained it so the Cosmos are depicted as looking down from God's perspective, instead of us looking up. Nice save, Cornelius. Getting antsy standing around? Why not kill some time in Grand Central's secret tennis court? But maybe you're bored at the third most visited subway station, Herald Square. Well, no worries. The interactive reach display allows you to wave your hands to compose a truly awful song. The interactive art goes completely unnoticed though, something it shares in common with the Times Square hum. The spooky droning sound coming from this subway grate isn't just some distant machinery. It's actually a purposeful art installation created by Max Newhouse, basically designed to create a weird noise in one of the world's most visited tourist destinations, and see if anyone notices. Nobody does. But what about a subway sound that everybody knows? Meet Charlie Pellet, a former news anchor for Bloomberg Radio and the voice that goes,
"Stand clear of the closing doors, please."
There are a slew of abandoned subway stations. Here's the original City Hall station. Fancy stuff. But by 1945, the trains were too long to stop here anymore. Maybe it will look familiar though, as it was recreated for this set in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The most mysterious abandoned station is 76th Street in Queens, as it may or may not exist. Rumored as an extension of the A-line, much of the evidence it ever existed is anecdotal. If the station does exist, it's behind a tunnel sealed off in the 1970s. The white whale of urban explorers, there is little concrete evidence of what lies behind the concrete. Some other abandoned stations have turned urban art gallery, like the uncompleted South 4th Street. Most have fallen into disrepair. Not Court Street though. Court Street is very much repaired. It's now home to the New York Transit Museum. Even stations that still get trains have some disused parts. Here's an old door that once went directly into the fancy Knickerbocker Hotel. Here's a blocked-off tunnel that used to connect the New Yorker Hotel with Penn Station. Some disused subway tunnels have been put to better use, like this one that is now a Marie Antoinette-themed speakeasy. What's that? You have a Metro card, but you don't like to be underground. No problem. Why not take the Roosevelt Island Tramway? There's only one other aerial tramway in the country, but that one's in Oregon. Oregon is not part of the New York subway. Sorry I mentioned it. Maybe the Roosevelt Island one looks familiar though. Yeah, probably does. There even used to be a Universal Studios ride where you battled with King Kong. Recognize what you rode on during the battle? In case this was seeming like too good a solution for your claustrophobia, though, it's worth noting an occupied tramcar once did get stuck midair during a power outage for 7 hours. The aerial tram replaced an old trolley that used to go across the Queensboro Bridge, where riders could stop and take an elevator down to the island. The old trolley kiosk is now the island's visitor center. Many other entire lines have been demolished. Most morbid, here's a plaque commemorating Death Avenue, a full-sized rail line that ran along Manhattan West and, due to having no fences or platforms, was constantly running people over. Eventually, there was enough outcry to get the train line raised above ground. This line is abandoned too, though, and has now been repurposed as a popular park called the High Line. We've talked about a lot of spots. Maybe you're a bit lost. Try out this artsy subway map on a random sidewalk. It won't help at all, but it is very pretty to look at. Maybe you like your transit at a smaller scale. Then wait for the holidays and check out the New York Botanical Garden. Their holiday train show has half a mile of real mini track and 150 landmarks remade from natural materials. If you've ridden the subway, you'll know there are many highs and lows. Specifically, this one is the highest at 88 feet above street level, and this one is the lowest, going down almost 180 feet. Less deep, but arguably more fun to descend, is the elevator at Hudson Yards, which goes up and down on a slope. But even without sideways elevators, 191st Street still stands out. It's maybe the most musical station featured in this moment from In the Heights. Or maybe this one is the most musical, as it's where the music video for Michael Jackson's Bad was filmed. Multiple appeals to honor Jackson at the station were denied. You know who is honored though? Hint, this is Franklin Station. Think you like trains? Not as much as Kieran Thomas. At only 16 years old, he managed to lie his way into the conductor's cabin and successfully operated an A train for 3 hours and made every stop to the end of the line before being discovered. Even more impressively, this is the longest subway line at 31 miles. Think you hate trains? Have you blamed them for every time you've ever been late because you overslept? Unfortunately, if you have a really mean boss, they can actually fill out a form to request verification of a delay from the MTA. But the MTA could also save your skin. Swipes are tracked and have actually been used as acceptable alibi to acquit people of a crime. It's amazing that you can see so much with a Metro card. Maybe not for long though, as the Omni electronic system is now mostly in use. Wouldn't be the first time your ticket on board was antiquated. Subway tokens were stopped in 2003. While turnstile hopping seems pretty common nowadays, people were much more desperate back in old-timey times and would jam the machines to suck out tokens with their mouth. To counteract this, the MTA would spray the slots with chili powder. Zesty! While Metro cards are still around, let's look at their design. Hold on, what's this? Have I been redecorating? No, they're all like this. The hole helps the internal mechanism track the swipe, and the clipped corner helps visually impaired folks orient their card. Well, I suppose they aren't all like this. The MTA has released many special edition cards over the years, including collaborations with David Bowie, Supreme, and Game of Thrones. It's not only details on the cards that actually mean something. Seen these orbs? The green ones mean a station is 24 hours, the red ones mean it's closed. While Metro cards will one day be no more, some things never change. For example, on day one of the subway in 1904, there were complaints about the advertisements, a train delay, and an article published complaining about manspreading. The past really hasn't passed at all. It's always good to be aware of your surroundings. Crime has always been a part of the subways, since day one, literally. The day the subway opened, a man named Henry Barrett reported his diamond horseshoe pin had been stolen within minutes of him boarding the train. He was the third person ever to buy a ticket. But of all the sketchy trains you can board, it's especially good to make sure you don't accidentally board the ghost train. The legend holds the Astor Place station will occasionally be visited by a mysterious, spectral train, decked out with lavish, old-timey decor. You know who isn't riding the ghost train? A worker excavating under the East River who was sucked through the river and shot into the air after the pressurized tunnel he was in cracked. Why isn't he on the ghost train? Well, he survived this. In fact, there's likely no ghost trains at all, because trains don't really die. Many of them have even started new life, far undersea as artificial reefs. Sometimes, when waiting for the train, you might start to wish you were at the bottom of the ocean too. You aren't the only one who hates commuting though. So does the creator of this poem, officially installed in the Times Square station. In full, it reads, "Overslept, so tired. If late, get fired. Why bother? Why the pain? Go home, do it again." But maybe you don't have to hate your commute. Because even though the subway can be crowded, dirty, and more than a little stinky, it can also be oh so delightfully weird. Thanks for watching.